Before fish walked, before insects flew, and long before the first worm crawled through the mud, life existed, but not as animals. For billions of years, life was microscopic, consisting only of single-celled organisms. They floated in ancient oceans, dividing, drifting, and surviving one cell at a time. There were no tissues, no organs, and no cooperation. But something changed. One of the greatest transitions in evolutionary history began. Life started to build bodies. This is the story of how single-celled protozoa gave rise to multicellular animals. The Metazoa, the earliest life on Earth, was unicellular. For more than 2 billion years, Earth was ruled by prokaryotes, bacteria and archaea. But around 2 billion years ago, a new kind of cell appeared, the eukaryote. Unlike prokaryotes, eukaryotic cells had internal compartments, a nucleus to store DNA, and organelles like mitochondria to generate energy. These complex cells opened the door to new possibilities. Among them were the protozoa, free-living, often predatory, single-celled eukaryotes. They weren't animals, but they were a major evolutionary step toward them. Some swam with flagella. Some engulfed food using pseudopodia. Some even formed simple colonies. But they were still individual cells, living alone. Multicellularity was not inevitable, it was revolutionary. Cells that once lived independently had to begin working together. They had to give up their autonomy, divide labor, and cooperate as a unit. In evolutionary terms, this required a shift from individual selection to group-level selection. Some cells began to specialize in movement, others in feeding, and others in reproduction. Eventually, these cooperating cells formed the first multicellular organisms. It wasn't just about sticking together. It was about coordination, communication, and self-sacrifice, what biologists call cellular altruism. One of the key models for this transition is the Choanoflagellate, a modern group of single-celled organisms that closely resemble the cells found in sponges, the simplest animals alive today. Choanoflagellates live as both individual cells and in colonies. They possess genes remarkably similar to those used by animals for cell adhesion and signaling. In a way, they are living hints of the transition that happened over 600 million years ago, when the first true animals evolved from protozoan ancestors. The first animals were not predators or builders. They had no bones, no eyes, no muscles. But they had a body plan. These early animals, which we call Metazoa, developed structures that set the foundation for all animal life to come. Sponges are one of the earliest surviving lineages from this stage. They don't have nerves or muscles, but they do have specialized cells, channels for water flow, and a basic form of tissue coordination. From here, evolution took bold steps. It produced organisms with radial symmetry, like jellyfish and corals, and later, animals with bilateral symmetry, organisms that had a front and back, left and right. This new architecture allowed for directional movement, complex organs, and brains. This expansion in animal complexity exploded during the Cambrian period, about 540 million years ago. But the groundwork, the core systems of multicellular coordination, tissue development, and body patterning had already been laid. Without the protozoan heritage and the evolutionary leap into cellular cooperation, none of it would have been possible. The transition from protozoa to metazoa allowed life to do things it never had before, to grow large, to specialize, to move with intention, to sense the world, and eventually, to think. Every animal alive today, including us, is the product of this ancient innovation. Multicellularity was not just a new form, it was a new level of biological organization. So the next time you look at an animal, or even yourself, remember, behind every heartbeat, every movement, and every thought, is a history that began with one cell, floating in silence. That cell gave rise to colonies, cooperation, and eventually to complexity. It gave rise to the animal kingdom and to us.